Tonight on The Struggle, delays in the delivery of COVID jabs, Sydney set to welcome hordes of Aussie tourists, and an idea to bring a dinosaur daydream to life. After pharmaceutical companies such as Pfizer, Moderna and AstraZeneca all received authorization to begin distributing their coronavirus vaccines last year, countries around the world began a mad scramble to get it out to their citizens as fast as they could. Well, almost every country. Due to our comparatively low levels of COVID-19, Australia has taken a more laissez-faire approach to distributing the vaccines, drawing criticism from many. But don't worry, because I'm here to take all the news about these vaccines from at home and abroad and inject it straight into your arm in a segment we're calling Vax Facts. First up, Australia's vaccine rollout. Now, earlier this year, Scott Morrison famously promised that by April, we'd have administered 4 million doses of the vaccine. And so far, the rollout has been, shall we say, less than optimal. To say it's going at a snail's pace would be an insult to snails. But by the start of April, we were 85% short of that goal, which means we only delivered 15%. To put that number into perspective, if you tried to catch a flight from Melbourne to California and the flight only got 15% of the way, you'd probably land somewhere still in Australia, which admittedly is still a much safer place to be right now, but still. So where does Australia's chief marketing executive lay the blame for this bungling? The EU, of course. Scott Morrison is claiming that the EU has blocked Australia from receiving 3.1 million shots of the AstraZeneca vaccine because we all know that when in doubt, blame it on the Europeans. Now, there is some truthiness to this. Back in January, the European Commission blocked a shipment of 250,000 doses of vaccine being exported to Australia, citing Europe's high infection numbers. Apart from that, though, there doesn't seem to be any evidence that they blocked any other shipments of vaccine. But if Australia can't blame Europe, why not blame the virus itself for a slow vaccine rollout?
One of the things about COVID is it writes its own rules. You don't get to set the agenda.
I mean, if ScoMo isn't writing the rules nor setting the agenda, doesn't that make him kind of redundant? Regardless, after reports of some people who received the AstraZeneca vaccine developing blood clots, some of which being fatal, Australia has paused its rollout of the vaccine to anyone under 50. The data suggests the chances of developing blood clots are about 1 in 100,000, an exceedingly rare occurrence that scientists are stressing is not unusual and shouldn't be cause for alarm. So should we listen to the overwhelming majority of scientists who say that this side effect isn't cause for concern? Or could this really be the evidence that Bill Gates is injecting us with tracking microchips so he can conquer the world? Up to you, I guess. However, with quarantine-free travel between Australia and New Zealand beginning today, many are seizing the opportunity to finally get away on that overseas holiday. But given it's been so long since most of us have had to dig out our passports, fingers crossed yours hasn't expired, or you might have to wait that little bit longer before heading across the ditch, by which time who knows what the state of the travel bubble and restrictions will be. But I digress. In a tweet last week, celebrity chef Adam Lior put trans-Tasman travel in quite simple terms. Auckland is the new Bali. With Southeast Asia, predominantly Bali, drawing 35% of all leisure trips from Australia, it's no wonder there are hopes to recreate that authentic Bali experience in New Zealand. Let's cross now to our millennial correspondent Emily, who has the details.
Hi, welcome back to I'm a Millennial, Get Me Out of Here. Now, it's been a rough year for the Bali goers of Australia, missing their holidays, with some arguing at this point it's basically a domestic flight. But no fear, because we now have the Australian and New Zealand travel bubble opening up. I know it's not exactly the place that we all wanted to go, but for those wanting to escape Australia's borders and travel, you now have a chance to do so. But for the Australian majority hoping to continue that tradition of that Bali adventure, things were looking bleak. But don't worry, because a few creative Bali lovers have come up with a few tips and tricks to make your classy New Zealand trip into that nostalgic, much-loved Bali experience. Whoa, guys! Stop. Okay, I hear your complaints. I know what you're asking. Where am I going to wear my Bali bintang singlet? Now, for those of you who don't know, the bogan bintang has been a staple for any Bali tourist's outfit. So, I get it. Fashion is everything. So you'll be pleased to hear that the Bali batch have been coming up with some really effective solutions. Although we love that Bali bintang singlet, it's time to move on and replace it with a singlet displaying New Zealand Pinot Noirs and Sauv Blancs. New Zealand is known for its special relationship with its sheep, but this is taking it to a whole new level. Now, a popular experience in Bali is to ride on the backs of elephants. Hopeful and creative tourists are trying to emulate that same Bali experience in New Zealand with the sheep. Maybe that's what the old saying, riding on a sheep's back, means? Anyways, some people have labelled this as animal cruelty, but let's be honest, it can't be anywhere near as cruel as what New Zealanders do to their sheep.
It appears we've lost connection with our millennial correspondent. Let's head off to a quick break. Welcome back. Moving on to Japan now, where over 1 million tonnes of radioactive water have been given the green light to be disposed of in the ocean. Left in the wake of the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant accident, the water will be removed of all radioactive substances apart from tritium, which itself will be at low concentration. While the government plans to discharge tritium within regulatory limits, local fishers are concerned consumers will be scared off by the mere thought of contaminated water, with the industry still reeling from contamination fears stemming from 2011. That isn't the only issue Japan is currently facing, however, as the nation prepares to host the postponed 2020 Olympics amid a pandemic in just a matter of months. With a torch relay starting in Fukushima a few weeks ago, the Tokyo Olympics had initially been envisaged as a way to demonstrate the city's recovery following the triple earthquake, tsunami, nuclear disaster. But the relaunch will likely look different to what was first anticipated, with no overseas spectators allowed into this year's games. Back home, and things on the travel front aren't looking any more promising, with estimates suggesting international arrivals and departures may not hit pre-pandemic heights until 2024, meaning even getting to the next Summer Olympics in Paris is no certainty. Seems like our best chance of getting to see the Olympics live is to forget international travel and start planning for Brisbane 2032 if it is granted the role of host city. State border closures pending, of course. However, international restrictions are just one example of world affairs impacting major sporting events. So let's cross now to Soraya to take a look at some of the other ways sport and politics overlap.
Thanks, Sam. Our world is increasingly interconnected. Due to the influence of modern technology, when a trend takes hold of one part of the world, then no doubt the rest of us will soon know about it. Whether it be a new fashion, a new song, or indeed a deadly virus that has shaped and continues to shape our lives in nearly every imaginable way, such as TikTok. But the reality of our increasing servitude to our social media overlords aside, politics is one of these things that in the modern world cannot be separated from almost any other aspect of our lives. Yet despite this, in the sporting world, a persistent narrative is that sport and politics do not and should not mix. Even the almighty moral compass of the Australian people, Prime Minister Scott Morrison, has at some point engaged in the classic line, "Keep politics out of sport." However, recent events across the world have confirmed the role of sport as a community leader with a responsibility to address major social issues such as discrimination and inequality. The recent decision to move the Major League Baseball All-Star Game away from Atlanta, Georgia, following the state's introduction of racist voting restriction laws, and the English Premier League's ongoing demonstration of its anti-racism stance, attest to this fact. Of course, there are many great examples of sports stars and fans using the platform of sport to send important messages, like the time that Novak Djokovic led the way in promoting COVID awareness and safety, or the time that A-League fans demonstrated their support for inclusiveness in the sport. Okay, so for better or for worse, sport and politics are necessarily connected. Just look at this year's Olympics, which will have to navigate the highly political territory of the COVID pandemic. But of course, this is why it's important that instead of wasting time arguing about whether or not politics should be involved in sport, we accept that it is and harness this power to support good causes. Now, you could say that the only people alleging that sport is being politicised when a sporting organisation supports anti-sexism, anti-racism or anti-homophobia are the people who are upset by the increasing limitations on their opportunities to be racist, sexist, or homophobic. But that's just wild conjecture, and I for one am above making passive-aggressive, thinly veiled remarks. Back to you, Sam.
Insightful as always, Soraya. Some of you may have heard of Clive Palmer's short-lived dinosaur park, Palmersaurus, at his Coolum Resort in Queensland, which opened in 2013 and was filled with replica dinosaurs. But based on criticism for its expensive entry fees and guests struggling to sleep through the constant growls of the resident T-Rex, it's unsurprising the attraction is now as extinct as the prehistoric reptiles themselves. And while Palmer's venture wasn't a roaring success, Elon Musk's business partner Max Hodak might have just come up with an even more problematic idea. Forget Clive's automated robot dinosaurs, Hodak has suggested breeding and engineering real dinosaurs to create his very own Jurassic Park. Exciting or terrifying? Let's head over to our fangirl Sophia to see what she thinks about this.
Thanks, Sam. It's no secret that Elon Musk and all his Neuralink creations keep me on my toes, but his partner in crime, Max Hodak, may have just had the biggest idea yet. In a recent tweet, he said, "We could probably build Jurassic Park if we wanted to. Wouldn't be genetically authentic dinosaurs, but maybe 15 years of breeding and engineering to get super exotic novel species." While I'm all about some cool new dinosaur species, let's just picture Hodak's Jurassic Park if it were to take place here in Australia. Now, just like the film, Australia is also an island, making it a perfect location. And we would have Hodak as a makeshift John Hammond. After all, they both are super rich. As exciting as a prehistoric theme park might be, genetically engineering dinosaurs, surprisingly, has a few drawbacks. If I remember anything from Jurassic Park, apart from how good the visual effects were, even by today's standards, is that vicious dinosaurs roamed free and innocent people died. As much as Hodak's idea is, thrilling, I guess there are some things we should consider before genetically engineering an entire species for an amusement park. Good thing the idea is nothing more than a tweet at this stage, right? Back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Sophia. We're off to another short break. Welcome back again. The passing of Prince Philip at the age of 99 has seen an outpouring of sympathy for the Duke of Edinburgh, with his life meaning different things to different people. For some, he was a loyal consort to the longest reigning British monarch. For some in Vanuatu, he was a revered godlike figure. And for a select few, he was a treasured family member. So to see what the death of Philip means to her, we now cross to Karen Kvetch from Neighbourhood Watch.
Thank you, Sam. I didn't quite catch all of that. However, yes, I will be discussing the tragic deaths of many penguins in Port Phillip Bay and across Victoria last week. On the evening of the 11th of April, big seas caused many young penguin carcasses to be washed along the shoreline. Additionally, large tides forced many boulders onto the roads. This was particularly frustrating for me, as it meant that I could not reach the destination of my Neighbourhood Watch investigation. This matter was extremely important. However, instead of getting to the bottom of it and figuring out exactly why the complaint was made, I was forced to come face to face with this inconvenient roadblock. Now, my time is exceptionally important. However, the council members on scene clearly did not think so, as they took an eternity to clear the debris. Their behaviour was unacceptable, and I will not tolerate it. Hello? I'm in the middle of filming. What is it? What do you mean? I was meant to be discussing the death of Prince Philip? Why, of course. Yes, I knew that. In fact, I was just getting to it. See? Next time you should not be so soon to cut somebody off. Goodbye. I was extremely sad when I heard of the death of Prince Philip. He served alongside the Queen as the Duke of Edinburgh for 64 years. He passed away at the age of 99, alongside his wife of 74 years. Thank you for your service, Philip. Back to you, Sam.
Karen Kvetch there, reporting on death involving some kind of Philip? Anyway, recording artist Akon is pushing ahead with his plans to build futuristic cities in Africa, with work underway in Senegal and plans for a second city in Uganda. The city aims to be entirely solar-powered and comes with a cryptocurrency, Akon. The new currency aims to liberate entrepreneurs from the economic challenges that have historically inhibited progress and growth in the region. The Ugandan government recently approved land for the second Akon city. However, there are reports of locals doubting the reality of the first Akon city, with it purportedly costing $6 billion. Come on, Akon, don't put the cart before the camel. Get Akon City 1 up and running before Wakanda, Uganda. For more on that, we have, for a limited time only, our multiverse correspondent, Phil Forward.
What's up, guys? It's Phil Forward here. Just here in my studio. I got my big screen right here. Because you know what I like more than reality? Fantasy. It's like something mogul Rupert Murdoch once said. The more you spin, the more you win. Yes, you heard it right. Wakanda is real. Or at least it will be in a couple of decades. My man Akon is constructing a solar-powered city in Senegal. Just so beautiful. It'll even have its own cryptocurrency, Akon. So damn beautiful. Step aside, Kanye. My man's a visionary. My man's a creative genius. I mean, genius. The beauty of having a cryptocurrency is that it exists in a closed system, free from any artificial intelligence. Basically, we inflate and deflate the currency as we please. You probably remember seeing me on the latest season of Shark Tank. I presented my coin, WAD4. Anyway, it got passed up, but Akon's basically the same thing. And don't get me started about Akon City being solar powered. Just think when you're walking through the harsh desert and you see something shimmering in the distance. That's no waterhole, that's no mirage. It's a goddamn solar farm. And I wonder who's going to help set up Akon City 1's solar system. Maybe the man whose name rhymes with melon husk. And I'm Phil Forward, co-founder of WAD4. To learn more, you can check out my profile on InkedIn, my new physical database for people's resumes. I mean, come on, folks. Let's not get out of touch with reality. Back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Phil. Good luck with all your ventures. You're going to need it. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode, just in time to catch MasterChef so you can add to your collection of recipes you'll never end up getting around to actually making. Until next week, the struggle, it's real.